So my work is about public food forest in cities or in small towns. I developed many projects and I start in 2017 in Taiwan. Today, I'm part of three structures. The first one is Slow Food, which is an international movement, and I'm managing the local slow food here in French Catalonia. The second one is my own structure, the Food Forest Lab, which is just a platform or website. It's my social networks. And the third one is Forêt Gourmande. So it's kind of a research center. It's a true food forest. It's the richest food forest in France. Started in 2010, founded by a colleague of mine, and his name is Fabrice Desjours, who wrote many books about food forest in France. And I will present what I'm doing regarding the three structures. So, first introduction. So you already know all the challenge, so I won't spend time to review the challenge. Just the picture is in my town where I live now, in south of France, French Catalonia. And this is one of the land we have to do urban food forest. And it's very poor, it's full of pollution. And in 2022 and 23, we had very little rain, just 200 millimeters of rain during the year. So it was a major crisis, and all the farmers in the area, they had to cut the water irrigation by two. So it was a really big problem. And after that, I got some subsidies to start experimental work in urban food forest in the area by monitoring water needs. My work is intersection of urban farming. It's also advocacy work because I'm trying to inspire people to do the same work and to spread the food forest in their town. And also, I'm trying to inspire local policies to support technically and financially this kind of project. And I'm also trying to involve many citizens so that the projects are maintained not by the city government, but by the citizens. So it's a win-win. For the city, it's a free maintenance for green space. And for people, it increases well-being in the city. So I started many projects. So first in Cahors, in south of France, but more in the center. And after Cahors, I was called in other cities to spread the concept. And now I'm living in Elne. My Food Forest Lab, it's my platform. I'm trying to spread the knowledge, to share my experience about food forestry cooking, how to process the fruits that are not known. For example, acorn. I work a lot on acorn, the fruit of oak trees, which are very nutritive. And also I'm doing some fermentation, some recipes. So I wrote two books of recipes from the food forest. And I share some methodology for people to start urban food forest. It's kind of open source platform. Then I work for slow food at the local level. And it's very interesting because at slow food, I work with farmers, the slow food farm. I work with local governments. I work with cooks. And I organize a lot of events to gather all the people that work for short circuits and the sustainable farming. And I organize the earth markets. And within the earth market, we can share. So it gather a lot of people and we can share about some interesting topic. For example, agroecology, how to manage the lack of water, how to learn how to cook these forgotten foods. And from the market, I have many people that join for the tree planting events. This is La Forêt Gourmande in France, in Burgundy, so east of France. It's 2 hectares experimental food forest, very, very rich. It's more than 1,000 plant species in this land. And the objective, the goal is to test and experiment all these kind of plant species, how they grow, all the combination between the plants, and also how to use and cook them. So now this place is very famous in France. Every month, some big media are coming, and we have a lot of demand for visiting and training. So I'm managing the training center, which is certified. And now we also welcome the farmers that are starting to build some commercial food forest. Before working in France, I started to discover this concept in Taiwan, where I worked for 3 years between 2017 and 2019. And within the Wutong Foundation, we started 4 urban edible forests in small areas around maybe 800 square meters. And my function was to organize some educational activities to gather people in the land and to train them about how to manage. And it was amazing because I figure out that all the people there is nobody in a city which is again which will fight this kind of project. It will gather everyone, every generation, every social class. So finally, I figure out that people which are very old in the area, they don't need to go to the hospital anymore because in the hospital they have other people which will care for them. They do not need to go to the hospital. They just could go to the urban food forest, and by being there, they are creating some social links, and they are feeling better. So it has these health benefits. In Taiwan, it's 70% of population living in urban areas. So it's very important to do this kind of project because the land is not available. There is not so much land available in the big cities, very few space, but we have many people who have time to go and join the food forest activities. So finally, we figure out, okay, bringing back nature in the cities can be a shock for some people because it's natural sounds, new sounds, not the car anymore. And for some people, it was like, okay, the forest come to my home, and now I'm hearing for the frogs, and I'm afraid. So some people complain because of the frog sound instead of complaining for the car's sound. It's crazy. And finally, we figure out that we do not need to manage this space anymore. So after doing some animation for 2 years, 3 years, the people have increased their skills and they are able to manage by themselves. So in 2020, I came back to France and I starting to spread the concept in France. And now we have this map, which is interactive, and everybody is referencing his project in the map. And here is a map for all the urban food forest and associated and collective food forest in France. I think it's not exhaustive. Some of people, they are not using this map, but we tried to have a nice view, an accurate view about how it spread, to ask all the food forest stakeholders in France, the main one, to adopt this single map. So it's collaborative, it's not a Forêt Gourmand map, it's not my map, it's a map for everybody, and everybody use this one and just this one. We also have private maps for private project, but we are not spreading the name of the private project. So finally, since 2019, we just see that it's spreading very, very fast. Now it's more than 100, maybe 200 cities that know this kind of project. So here are some examples of the public food forest. Oh, this one on the left is in Belgium, so not in France, but it's also from the French movement. At the top is in Poitiers, French, yeah, in the middle of France. This one with the name of the plants, it's my town where I live now. It's the other one with the castle is in Paris, close to Paris, Nanterre, and on the right is close to Switzerland. So every time they have some signalétic panels. We are trying to work very well with the pathways because the food forest is kind of abundance and wild plants. So it can be maybe kind of dirt work for some people that are used to clean space. So it's very important to have the very clean pathways. So finally, yeah, what we should monitor in this kind of project to spread more, it's the effect on soil regeneration. So I'm working with students and with universities to monitor every year the soil life, how it regenerates, and the water needs. We should monitor food productivity to like an incentive measure for other people to start because for me, urban food forest is the first step to commercial food forest. And to spread commercial food forest, we have to measure all the productions. And right now, we still haven't very well measured. Also, we are measuring carbon sequestration and biodiversity production because now we have some laws, European laws, that that influence companies, private companies, to fund carbon sequestration initiatives. So we work with EDF, which is the electricity production company in France, to measure carbon sequestration, carbon storage in the food forest. And after that, we will be able to fund public food forest through the fund from private companies. Same for biodiversity production. In 2026, companies will, it will be compulsory for them to measure biodiversity on their lands and to improve. So maybe they will have to implement food forest in their lands. Now I'm sharing what we are doing in my city. So I came here 3 years ago because the city government is very, very open. And they open everything, all the financial means to spread this kind of projects. So it's very interesting. It's a 10,000 inhabitants, close to the sea. The Mediterranean Sea is 5 kilometers, so the climate is very nice, very warm, but we lack of water. And because of the lack of water, the ecological succession, which led naturally to the forest, is not happening. So we have to use smart techniques for planting trees so that our system can be autonomous at one moment. So we are using a we are growing microorganisms, and we are starting from the seeds instead of planting the trees. I have some pictures. So here is a edible reforestation project started 2 years ago. And we had 2 hectares in the city in 3 different lands. And we choose from one site, we just plant without water. We choose plants from Arizona desert and we see how it go. And other seats, we have irrigation. We plant some qualitative trees and we see how fast it can produce. It's this kind of research. And also we are monitoring soil regeneration with the students from the university. And the people, the inhabitants are invited to join the plantation work and the maintenance work. And now we are developing the involvement of the schools. This is another project in my city, is removing the concrete in city center to plant the food forest. So we have many places in city center that were parking slots, and now no concrete anymore. We sow some seeds, pioneer seeds, green manure seeds to regenerate the soil. And after, I invited the inhabitants to collectively choose the plants that we want to have in each garden. And I just opened the mind regarding the perennial and nourishing plant species. And after that, 2 times a year, we have a party. It's a fête Elne Ville Jardin. So it's a party for the city gardens in June and in November. And we are doing the planting and the maintenance work. You see in picture in the bottom, we have the pathways that are very beautiful. It's very, very important because it bring this clean aspect to the gardens that are very diversified. And it's kind of blurry and it's a jungle. So the pathway help people to feel good and to go in the garden. And now we are also organizing some cooking workshops where we visit the gardens, we harvest, and then we cook so that people know how to use these very weird plants. Another project in the city is edible landscape. We have a former college which is abandoned because of pollution problem. And it's 13 hectares. And we also have the sports lots within it. So during 6 months, within the inhabitants, we did together the analysis, soil diagnostic, and conception and design work. And 1 year ago, we planted this. And now, everybody is enjoying, and we are trying to increase citizen participation in maintenance. And this year, we also build the citizen tree nursery because with so many gardens, now we have to plant, to densify, but the plants, we have to pay for them. And inhabitants, they don't want to pay for plants within the public space. And if it's a city government paying for it, it's complicated because you have to first do some invoice, administrative work is very heavy. So we build the tree nursery where everybody can go and multiply the plants together, cuttings, sowing, and so on. And also within that, so it was for citizen participation, but also we are building a acorn food chain, acorn consumption, because in the area we have sweet acorns naturally in the mountain. So I work with farmers that grow wheat and who are making bread and who own a lot of oak tree forest. So we are doing all the process and the food chain transformation so that they can make the acorn bread. And after that, I will build within the city a workshop, a transformation, a food forest transformation workshop, a lab where people will mutualize and make in common all the tools for the food process. For example, making dry fruits, making acorn flour, making jams. We have to bring it common the tools. Also, this is for, donc, thanks to Slow Food, I have access to cooks, to institutions, and everybody, so I can organize big events, like a event we did 3 days ago, Rencontre of Agroecology, agroecological training, and I asked the chef to cook the production from the food forest so that they can enjoy this food and so that all the clients can enjoy this food well prepared by a chef is better than when myself is preparing the food. So it can do the advocacy work actually to influence food production in the department. Now the model is spreading in the city towns around and they want the same things. So we have to go in other cities to train the inhabitants once a month to build their own gardens. And about the government, so it's a three parts city government for technical support and financial support, association for the vision, the goal, the objective, and the organization, and citizens for enjoying everything. It's very important to have the three. I think just municipality and citizens is not working. So I figure out that many food forest projects in France, sometimes it's the idea of the city government, and sometimes it's the initiative of associations. And I figure out that the most successful projects come from associations, not from the city government. Because when it's the city government, people, they feel like it's city project and I don't want to work for the city government. They are doing this for being for their image. So you have to be very, very careful to make people feel it's their idea and they feel involved and they feel like when they have ideas and want to do some actions, they can't do it. So finally, impact is that when it's spreading by itself, so when we did the first parking lot, removing the concrete and making it beautiful, other people in the town and other towns came to do I want the same. So it's spreading. It's very nice. Also, second, we see the social impact. So every time people are gathering in the gardens, they are smiling. So very nice, I think, as an indicators. Also about education. Now in Elne, everybody know what is a living soil. Everybody know it. And everybody know what is a food forest, and it's normal. It's not a new concept. It's just a normal concept for citizens in the city. And also, I hope in the future it will create economic activity. For example, we will work next year with a tourism office to build a touristic tour around the different gardens and the tree nursery, and maybe a cooking workshop for all the tourists. We are 5 kilometers from Mediterranean Sea. The town in front, 5 kilometers far, it's 40 campings and several, many people in summer coming here, many tourists. So we have to bring them to the sustainable tourism and slow travel concept. And maybe we will be able, through the collaborative transformation lab, to create some new activities, new jobs for distributing, selling, growing, and managing the tree nursery. So finally, green space or parkings, they are becoming productive for food, for biodiversity, for social links. So it's all, a lot of benefits. So finally, for myself, what are the perspectives? I'm trying to now to develop other projects. For example, seeds. I'm trying to work about seeds. It's not just about food forestry. It's about food self-sufficiency. How to build a resilient territories at the scale of the department. And food forestry is one aspect with the citizen participation, but we also have to work with the farmers to help them to build maybe a commercial food forest or to adapt their practice and by using local seeds. So I want to build a seeds house, and also create the short food chain so that the local productions stays local and that the cooks are able to use them, because now it's very difficult for them to not use metro circuits. So it's fine for me. I don't know if you have some questions, maybe. And sorry for my English, which is very poor, and I'm very ashamed.
It's perfect. Thank you very much. I like very much the French accent. So yes, thank you very much from my side. I think it was way more than inspiring because it clearly shows the obstacles, but also the potentials that you've been creating to sort of not only work around, but really open up new opportunities. So of course, I have a lot of questions and would be happy to discuss them, but maybe somebody else from the round table would like to start first or weigh in. Emmanuel.
I can start.
Thank you, Philip.
Okay.
Claire, I think this is fascinating, and yeah, I think there's so much inspiration that I personally get, and I wish you could share some of those methodologies. And I was just thinking because the office I'm sitting, of course, you're seeing the background of Kilimanjaro, but actually this office is in the land of about 3,300 acres. And we have arboretum, we have 7 acres of avocado, and we just planted artemisia. We have many other activities. At least 100,000 acres is farmed for different things, including flowers that we export to Europe. What we never thought of, what we call food forest. We have started microforest, at least two of them. We planted one on the 5th of June 2024 and then another 5th of June 2025, but we don't have a micro food forest. And I think from the food perspective and to the reality that many people are actually not consuming a lot of fruits, which actually you make a very strong case saying the older people are no longer getting sick because they're getting to reconnect, to refresh in the forested areas, in urban areas. But actually linking with the recent events of COVID, particularly and I will link to my situation in Tanzania, that people don't have areas to play, so areas to run. And then you clearly show that you really need to have these smart, clean pathways. So I think, first of all, everything is such an amazing thing. And then you mentioned that there is no fighting back in terms of people accepting this. And then I think you did not say much about the land tenure. And I wanted you to say more about that because one thing that I'm realizing in most of these developing countries, and particularly in urban areas, in countries like my Tanzania, is that most of the open spaces are actually taken away by public officials. So you will find a space that has been set aside as a playground and all this stuff. Some rich guy buy it, some politically connected people get. So how do we address, because this is a whole tenure issue and many countries have different tenure system. Tanzania, all land is public. That means it's entrusted into the president. And then there's a customary tenure on the rural areas. But I think this one should really be framed within the tenure aspect, within the public health, and also the urban planning. And I think the whole green movements in the city is getting a lot of attention. So well done. I just wanted to look at the tenure aspect. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a good question. Actually, depends. If the initiative comes from association, then it's a very big question because, for example, in Cahors City in 2020, when I started there, um, we had the idea to make a public food forest, and we went to meet the local city government and especially the person who is in charge of ecological transition. And he told us, okay, great idea. I'm following you because that's kind of project that I should develop within my 5 years here. And he told us, okay, let's choose the land you want, and then I will defend the project for other member of the city government. So we choose maybe six different lands by number one, number two, number three, and then they let us choose the number one. They agreed. And the only things it was that I had to meet the mayor and to explain and to be like I don't want to say that, but to be like a mother for the project and to say it will be fine. It's not ecologic. It's not extreme project. It's not ecologist fight. It's not a fight actually. It's just yeah, to gather people and to do stuff which will be beautiful, which will bring well-being, which will bring birds and natural sounds. It was close to the hospital as well, like in Taiwan. And yeah, the mayor worried about the extreme engagement that this kind of project could be. And it was fine because yeah, it was okay. And second concerns, it was it was regarding citizen participation. You worried about, and if nobody is joining the project, it will be abandoned. And what are you going for that? And I just tell I just don't know because I cannot yeah, predict the future. But this kind of project, it is not abandoned because it's people, they are feeling useful to manage them, to manage the space, and it's for the common good. It's very important to say that it's a project for the common good, and they are meeting and they are feeling they are having a very good time. So finally, we had to build an association with a juridical structure, and then we made a contract between us and the city government. And every time it's the same things. The association had to make a contract about for 4 years, 10 years, 30 years, 100 years. You have a contract. So regarding tenant, in France is okay because in France we have space, except in very dense urban areas like Paris or Nanterre. But I also working in this kind of project in a Paris area, and it's fine because this kind of project is not just one benefit; it's 10 benefits, 15 benefits. It's carbon storage, social links, food production, environmental education. They want to do this now. So I never met issues regarding land tenant.
Okay. Yeah, I think that's really interesting. And of course, I think it might differ from city to city and from country to country and even inside Europe. I mean, I just want to refer to the European framework for the green transition, where the cities at all different levels are required to take action in terms of water resilience, food resilience, water retention, temperature damping, and greening the spaces, including depaving. However, I think the cities might act differently, and having those networks might sort of help to learn from each other. And I think you mentioned a lot of excellent reasons. And once you get away from the idea that some freaks just want to grow fruits, and might mess it up in the next year, you need sort of long-term planning. And therefore, I agree to have some type of association on the one hand, but also maybe partnerships. And I think this could help as well to say, look, we are part of that. And I love, for example, the signage that you had. So that says, okay, it's a food forest, and this is part of a larger network, either in France or even beyond that. But Aguinaldo, you're driving the car, are you? And you raised your hand. Are you able to raise to share a question with us?
Hello, can you understand me?
We can understand you. Be careful.
Yes. My question is, yes, focusing on edible for a human perspective is a good way to, breaking the barrier of people embrace a forest, embracing nature. But a question for Claire is there any of your initiatives going to a next phase, like a more biocentric, not just human edible forest, but other species as well? Like, I'm just saying that because I see in my city there is some initiatives on bee corridors or bird reproduction corridors, and nowadays they are planting 100,000 trees in my city, but most of these trees are not edible for other species. I mean, birds cannot eat there, and so on. They are some of them are even exotic trees. They're not from my city. So I'm just asking Claire, do you have any initiative that went, focus, went to the next stage, which is not just edible for humans, but being like edible corridors or edible oases for other, species in the urban environment?
Yeah, actually, the food forest, they are not edible just for human. They are already edible for the animals, the birds, all kind of the animal chain. They will be fed by the food forest because it's the essence of the food forest. You have food production, medicinal production. You have materials production for heating, for building. You have biomass production for going back to the soil and the breaking down process. And you have a biodiversity production. So you are producing the biodiversity through this kind of system. So I know that all the projects I'm managing, the Association for Birds, for Wild Animals, they are very, very happy because it's bringing the same benefits for wild animals than for human, the same.
I'm asking that because some other species are very hard for humans to get, to accept to be close. Just to give an example. In São Paulo city, during the pandemic, I did a project on redesigning a park in São Paulo, being more biocentric. And one of the lights there was a big spider. It's poisonless. There's no poison in the spider, but it makes 1 meter net, this spider. And all human beings, they want to destroy this spider because, they are concerned, can it bite me, and so on. I'm just saying that some connections in nature, sometimes in the urban environment, they are not aesthetically, or even, people have hard time to get to have this sort of light close to them. The spider is a good example. If I enable the spider to have access to food, to spider like insects and so on, it might be incompatible with human behavior, human perception, safe environment. I don't know. And sorry to go to this level, but I just because all the edible forests I saw so far in Brazil, they are very much thinking on cycles and so on, but only the acceptable cycles, not all the cycles.
I think what you are mentioning, it's re-adding the concept of food forest in general. So not necessarily a public food forest, but also a private, scientific. And what you are mentioning, it was doing a research work about this topic through already existing and very rich food forest. For me, it's a research action work regarding biodiversity associated to the food forest. So it should be very interesting. Right now, is not done, not in France. Right now, which is done is just only carbon storage because some companies have interest to measure it. But right now, nobody has interest to measure biodiversity production. So we should start some research work by cooperating with some labs to measure it.
Thank you, thank Claire.
I think that's a very good point, Aguinaldo. I thought you might mention the bees. That might be something that is the most likely non-human inhabitant that we like. But I think in terms of biodiversity that comes with the initiatives that you're talking about, it would be really interesting sort of to measure it. And I know that initiatives, for example, like the climate farmers, they're really working on that topic to, on the one hand, define a baseline, and on the other hand, to define the criteria of biodiversity, because once companies want to invest, it somehow needs to be comparable. So this is an ongoing process. So, but as you put that in the topic, Claire, sort of research still to be done. I think that's something that we are trying to do as well, sort of to see the impact on the ecosystem, so to start to measure it. And I think here we could also learn from each other before defining. I mean, from counting earthworms per square meter or species, actually up to something that we can do with the sensors. But I think again here we could also, and I think you gave a lot of excellent examples, include the citizens, the local people, the stakeholders. But you mentioned it needs to be their project. So we have 2 more people. I hope I can answer some questions as well. Ana Luz, I think you know Claire best here.
Yes, hello. Thanks, Claire, as always, for the inspiring talk. I was wondering, because you talked about working on soil monitoring with universities and students. I wanted to hear more a little bit about that, because It's the first time I hear you talking about that, and that's something that we might be interested in for the project in Cologne. So if you can expand a bit.
Yeah. I work with Perpignan University, and they have IUT, so Institute of Technology in Perpignan, and I giving some courses in the IUT. So every year I have the students for a small time or for a few months, 1 day every 2 weeks, and I ask them to work on my topics. So sometimes it's cartographic work using SIG, and sometimes it's a monitoring work, for example, monitoring the soil or monitoring the invasive species that are spreading within the land we are planting, because we have this kind of problem. And especially with the Canne de Provence, it's kind of it's not a bamboo, but a similar plant. And they are monitoring regarding what they learn and what they have as tools in the institute. So it's very few means. It's monitoring soil texture and structure. It's monitoring pH and organic matter and warmth, and it's monitoring water infiltration. And right now it's just that. And what I would like to develop is monitoring all the microorganism, so living microorganism. But right now I cannot, because I do not have the accurate microscope to do this job. So there is another association here called Sol Vivant Méditerranée, so living soil in Mediterranean. I hope they will be able to build a lab where we have this tool and where we can monitor the living life and living microorganism, because it's very, very important for the soil regeneration we are doing. And also we are making some compost tea, oxygenated compost tea, and it's very efficient. And right now it's just an empiric observation, but I hope one day we will be able to do really scientific observation.
I think that's a very good and important point. However, I think on the one hand, we have the parameters that other disciplines can precisely define, and I think you mentioned some of them. On the other hand, we might come and suggest something about sort of soil health. So we want to work, for example, I work with some students on the question that we could ask, hey, soil, how are you today? Yeah, and there is a certain answer that is pretty much simplified, and I can just put in the chat a method. I don't know how known it is. It's very simple. It's called the T-bag method. How you can also identify this the soil quality. And I think if there is a link between measuring the soil quality and understanding it, so that you're not outsourcing it to somebody external, but that you can have local people or local stakeholders or citizens to take care of that, it might create another type of bonding. So, but I think that's another excellent opportunity to connect and think and work together. So, Cheryl, you've been raising your hand as well.
Yeah, thank you so much, Claire. It's beautiful how you worked. I know, I understand the amount of time you must have given to this. Did you ever sleep on a whole night when you don't think or dream of this? I don't think so. Okay, I have this story. I inherited a course called Back to the Land 2.1 with John Tekera, and we had it for 7 years in Sweden, and Philip knows a lot about it. And then it was closed down during kind of COVID. We didn't get as many students, and somehow it sort of was asked, do you really want to continue it? And there was something about it that was maybe a time in life where it would not continue. But now And they miss it up there where it was in the middle of Sweden. They really miss this. So I would like to somehow create this back to the land again. But on an island, Gotland, which is a limestone island, quite different than all of Sweden. And there's a huge industry, Cementa is in the middle of it because it's 100% limestone. So they are the first strongest pollutant in Sweden. They've reduced all of the particles, that you see, but there's still this carbon problem, and so they're trying to find ways to improve that. And they just got 30 more years to continue to remove stones for cement. So I live in a little city, which is right up against the industry. It's like in the middle of the city almost. And there's not many people that live there, a couple thousand, and everyone works for the Cementa. But they're losing all of their social sort of meeting places. So like this thing that just happened a couple of weeks ago was the cinema, which is run by a little private group of people. They're gonna raise it 5 times the rent, and of course they can't do that because it's only open a few times a month. And so for me, it's like, what's going on with this group of people that are going to buy? We're going to buy this little cinema, so we own it, and outside it there's a place. There's like a square, and it's full of it's just made cement and a few little things kids that can play on. So it's like taking away cement, and we would get support, I should think, from cement to take away cement when it's not needed, because it was used for everything. Everybody uses cement there. So it could be like a good positive thing for cement. And then just bringing people together, like you say, that just so people could start creating, like even for kids to play, how much the garden, I think gardening seems hard for some people. But the way you present this is so brilliant, because it brings in older people, and there's more and more people retired on this island too. So in order to have places not to just have a cup of coffee, because the Red Cross has a really nice little cafe where everybody hangs out, but that's the only place they hang out. And then the cinema. So there's a group that are, theater people and some cinema people that are now growing, and some really interesting people in that have worked with kids and all sorts of things. So I just wonder, both of these together, I really don't know that much about CO2, what the problem Cementa has, but I know the word CO2 is like the thing. So it would be great. Maybe Philip can come and help us, and you can come. But somehow it's like this really inspires me, and it's a much bigger project that I could imagine for me to get involved in. But I know that the society needs these type of things, because all the stores are gone. My husband lived there his childhood. They had everything. Oh, so help me. What should I do? It was starting with this cinema group.
Yeah, I guess a cinema group is quite far from gardening group. But why not? It's about culture. It's all about culture. So I think both activities are very compatible, and they are going together. And I also figure out that I have more maybe impact when the food system actions are led, when they are combined with the cultural actions. It's more impact. So I guess the cinema group could be inspired maybe by seeing a movie regarding urban gardening, or maybe the movie Tomorrow. The Tomorrow, 10 years ago, it was out, and it inspired many people to put the hand on the soil. So maybe watch a movie, maybe watch several movies regarding this topic.
Great, yeah, in the cinema, right?
In the cinema.
Yeah. Could you write the names of these on the chat so I know how to spell them and find them? That would be great.
I'm not sure about English name, but Tomorrow, I think it's
Tomorrow.
The movie, and maybe they have other movies regarding about gardening. I need to think about it.
And also like fossil, it's amazing island. There's the fossils. There's no island in the world that has so many fossils all over because it just happened to be pulled up from the ocean, and it's amazing. And because the cement industry is there, they go down too, and they throw up all this, so you can really see the layers, and it's really interesting. Like the concept of soil. What is soil? And they really have a hard time with water. It rains a lot, but it's still the water, they can't seem to gather it. So it shouldn't be problems if we just understood this from the soil up, from the stones up, from the fossils. Yeah. So maybe there's a film about fossils or
yeah, to find some movies and after that maybe to inspire people with what is a food forest, give some examples in other European countries and in the world, and then go step by step. So first step, it will be to select some plant species that are suitable to the climate and the soil. And after that, to organize the first planting events, but small, step by step, really, because after if you plant too big, if you plant too much at one time, then it's very heavy to maintain and care for the trees. So just plant small first, and after that you grow it. And once a year, a big party.
Once a year, that's great.
Once a year or 2 times a year, a big party, like a festival, a big event about that to celebrate. And when people celebrate, they are many, but when they maintain the land, they are a few, maybe 3 or 4 or 5. But when there is a celebration, it gives some energy and courage for the small group which is maintaining.
Right. I must say that this little tiny place has huge trees and they're very diverse. Every single color you could think about. Every single person has chosen like a tree that survives really well with limestone, but also very different. So they had a project many, many years ago for planting trees. Because in the beginning, everyone was cutting them down. It was mostly oak trees, and they were used for making ships. And so they were told not to cut trees down. And they would, of course, use it for burning too. But the houses were made of stone because they were not allowed to make them out of trees. So trees are special. Yeah. Really, thank you so much. The party thing is great.
If you need some coaching, I can coach you.
Yeah, thank you.
And
then maybe come in the cinema and talk to everybody full scale in the cinema. It's a great place to start this because there are a lot of people that just say, gosh, if they take that away, then we're dead. The whole society it's right in the center too. It's really from the 50s. So we could like create a historic monument of it, but getting people to, remake things. We have a PhD students is going to help us like understand the history of it and who made it. And then if there's possibilities to make workshops to renovate it that way, rather than renovate it like in a clumsy way, which would have been done. So I think just by the fact that we're going to buy it, that makes a lot of difference. So it helps them believe in the future, because they were pretty depressed. We didn't know about it until you went to a meeting, and then we found out. So anyway, I will definitely get in touch with you.
Okay.
So thank you so much for the inspiring work you do. I really understand how difficult it is. Wow. But how enjoyable.
And Cheryl, I think your question is really good for a couple of reasons. I mean, on the first hand, I think cinemas are also places of transformation, especially, let's say, in smaller towns, because of course you've got all those huge multiplex centers where we have the blockbusters, but in the smaller towns they're curating carefully a program, and I think to connect those two ideas is a wonderful idea.
Yeah, I think so too. Culture and soil.
Yeah. And I mean, we talked about getting back to the land, and maybe now it's back to the island, but we're also talking about back to the urban, basically.
Yeah.
Or back
a
to
little tiny urban space, but it really is.
And I like the examples also. I don't know, maybe as a starting point that you've been showing, Claire, with this sort of micro food forests that are going along with depaving as well.
Right.
And I
And
think
there
what,
are beautiful books. There's this beautiful book that I'm reading now about Gotland. And all of the pictures in this are then in the museum. So the people in the museum have really explained how many different types of fossils there are and like what the soil is made of. So there's a lot of knowledge, but it hasn't been put together in this kind of farming way. There's some great people there on the island doing ecological farming
yeah,
too, but not
or
necessarily,
maybe
not in the way you do.
once we sort of start to compare different initiatives, and I'm sure they're quite different in France, but it could be also, let's say, a specific lens to the quality of the place in terms of the notions of the soil, of the people, of the infrastructure, of the ecology, what would open up again new modes. But also putting a soil on the type of citizen engagement. And I think, Claire, you mentioned it for Taiwan, where you said everybody is in, everybody was accepting it. But knowing Taiwan quite a bit, of course, maybe not as good as you, is that the people are behaving in a different way. I mean, I think here we have to fight, we have to deal a lot with vandalism. Yeah, I mean, if something is publicly accessible, they put their trash there, or they might sort of destroy things. That we, for example, see in Cologne, but it's very different. There's a very different notion of the citizens and the common good and the public space that we see in Taiwan. However, we should not be discouraged. We should just know and accept, and maybe this could be a transformational issue as well.
Yeah.
What shows again that this is way more than a garden, but this is a performative tool also to contribute a tiny little bit to a transformation in cities.
And to be able to have something happen in this little city that's connected to you in France and to you in Germany, that would, of course, involve people even more to realize, yeah, we're not alone. Because it's been a city that's been exploited. It has the deepest harbor. They made a pier for Russia to do their pipelines. They've made some bad decisions along the way, but there's
all
also
over the
like
place.
beautiful tennis courts. There's also sorts of things that are very special, and people don't really realize what they could do.
Maybe you can share a bit of this when it's sort of your turn also.
Yeah, in March, I'll be
About
happy
that
to.
place. I think that would be
Yeah.
super amazing.
Super.
Maybe also, Claire, I don't know. I mean, we start now here in Cologne as well with mapping the stakeholders. And in my understanding, basically everybody is a stakeholder. Yeah, because there's nobody who cannot be connected. But sharing those maps that are sometimes not so useful could be super interesting for us as well to see, okay, who could be people we could relate to. And you've been working with slow food chefs, and I also want to work with chefs here that are either promoting the things or raising the curiosity or raising the awareness or is bringing the people there. So there's one thing that struck me. You also said one of the goals was to really feed the city, actually. So do you think this is possible? Because in my understanding, or to really sort of that a city or a town could completely rely on the food that is grown in the town, in my understanding, that might work for smaller towns, but of course not for larger towns. I mean, I don't want to talk about Lyon and Paris and Marseille, but if you just think of Bordeaux, I think that would rarely work. It could contribute and it could create a certain resilience, maybe also in case, like just think of the pandemics. But do you think this could be a goal? Because I think it's discouraging for many people that it's a lot of way to go until that moment.
No, I think the goal is not to feed 100% the city. I think it's not the point. The point will be to maybe reach maybe 50%, or already 40 is already very good, and to work scale by scale. For example, you work at the scale of the city, but you also work at the scale of 10 cities and at the scale of the whole department. And the more you reach a bigger percentage at one scale, less you depend from other scale. But you can keep some exchanges between the region, between the country. For example, I need to eat chocolate. And it's
Me too.
no way I do not eat chocolate, but it's kind of the global exchange. I need it, but I don't want to rely on it. And
Sure.
it's for building resilience. And but we have example where it's possible to feed the city. And for example, in the Tomorrow movie, the city of Todmorden in Great Britain, they feed 80% of the city from area or 80 kilometers. So it's not the boundary of the city, but it's wider. And when you grow free food on public space, you can easily imagine you also have municipal farming, and you put all the schools, the lunch for the schools, you can grow it within the city. You can maybe grow all the vegetables and the fruits within the city. Maybe for the cereal is not possible, I don't know. Maybe for the meat as well is not possible. After you have some regional opportunities. For example, some areas they are very good for growing this kind of production or vines or I don't know what. So it's just exchanges, but between the resilience at the local level.
Yeah, so I think you mentioned the term food autonomy, and autonomy still allows the sort of interchange, maybe not so much between Brazil, France, and China, but more sort of in more sort of proximity.
Yeah.
So yes, well, I think there's a lot of things that sort of I will note down and maybe also share with you based on the presentation you did, and I think there's a lot of opportunities to learn together and to learn from each other. Maybe one more question: did you start this? You said you were mapping actually the food forest. Were you part of this initiative? One question, as we've seen last time, I don't know if you joined or if you joined until the end. We have seen from what's her name? Anna Davis from Ireland. She came up with this European atlas, and I think there are quite a few atlas and maps. Do you know if this exists in other countries as well? I saw you have Belgium in as well. So I just want to avoid that a lot of sort of initiatives are now creating their atlases or they're sort of mapping their initiatives.
Yeah, I saw one map, a worldwide map. I
Okay.
saw one once. I think I can find it again. But except that, I don't know. And also just to say that we should connect and gather and apply for European subsidies. I think we should do that. We should do a bigger connection because it's what will help the topic to come at a global level and to be well recognized. So for me, I'm trying to create some bonds with Spain through transbordery projects. And I think it's very important to do that. And that's why I'm quite happy to join this kind of roundtable.
Yeah, and I think this roundtable is only there because we had this ambition to go for such a project. But I think not only, but we have to. And I think we had a lot of things that we might just need to put together. And I just put somewhere in the chat the call that has been just launched today, but announced at an earlier time. It's also in our Google Doc. So we could make up our mind. And Christina, unfortunately, already found out that as it is chaired by an Italian association, that Italians cannot chair. Of course, it's not the only one, but we can sort of have a look at that and sort of unite. And I don't know whether you know, Claire, there is a city in Catalonia. It's called Granollers. I spell it with you know that because they had a conference on first edition where it was about seed and seed autonomy. And they have an amazing seed bank in a museum there that they just started. and they have amazing people, farmers that are really resilient against the immediate sort of industrial agroecology neighbors. And they're just sort of planting plants in order to generate seeds, and they're super amazing. And they worked up on the first manifesto. So I can, if you don't know them, I can.
I think the name is Echar Collant. Maybe I saw there is a very, very strong organization promoting forgotten plant and the seed banks. I think it's the same, and I want to connect with them, but now I still do not have the opportunity.
I can forward you actually the wrap up, because I've been on that conference last year. It was the first call, and I think they sort of just wrapped up from their perspective. Okay, yeah, wonderful. So I think, of course, this could be an immediate perspective, and of course, you are in another economical situation than we are as academics. But I think that's the interesting thing, also to have very different stakeholder from these ecosystems together, seeing how we can unite. And I'm really, really happy that through Aguinaldo, who left, but through Carla, who's still there in front of me, and through Emmanuel, we have also people outside of Europe, what I think is incredibly valuable, both for the exchange of expertise, even if things might be very different, but also for using this to come up with a response to one of the calls. So maybe we could have a look until the next time a bit on that call. I could prepare something, and we need a way to have Christina and Venice in as well. So yes, so if there are no more questions, and then I would be happy to close the call. Next time on January 5th, I don't know, some might be still in a winter break or summer break regarding on where you are on the globe. But on January 5th, Aguinaldo dos Santos, hopefully at that time then not sitting in a car, but in front of his computer, will talk on reflections on the use of urban forests, environmental education, open labs, what I think is interesting as well. You've been mentioning the Living Lab, and I think the Living Lab is something that might sort of connect many of us, and maybe we can use this as well to go a bit deeper into a conversation of doing something together. So the call that I put in the chat has a submission for a first draft at early February. So I think if that would be interesting, we could use the January meeting, and I put an extra reminder in my email, so to see who could be interested in working on that. And Claire, once again, thank you very much, and I will immediately send to you this email regarding Granollers. And
Yeah,
I was excited to see you next week in Cologne and to make things happen.
Yes.
Okay.
Likewise.
Thank you all
Thank you.
Thank you very much,
Thank you,
everybody.
everyone. Thanks a lot, Claire.
Happy New Year.
Thank
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year, yeah.
Yeah,
And
Happy New
next
Year.
month.
Merry Christmas.
First time I say it.
The same.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Bye.
Bye-bye, and thank you.
Bye-bye.